is now rolling out in season 5. We just had another excellent episode drop this last week with Davis Warlick from Parkdale Mills. Fascinating conversation. We have a lot to talk to you about today, so let's just get rolling with the first headline we want to share. Our hometown, our beloved hometown of St. Louis, in the last week suffered a catastrophe.
Yeah, EF3 tornado came right through the center of the city. I don't think in recorded history we know of something that devastating in the city of St. Louis. Driving through the neighborhood, seeing the devastation is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, we've had over 5,000 homes and structures lost. 28 people so far have been accounted for as not making it through the tornado. And it's going to be some time to recover from this event. Right now, we have yet to have support from the federal government or FEMA. And as you can imagine, the devastation is quite serious.
And they need lots of supplies. So those of you that feel motivated to donate and help out, tarps, lumber, plywood, screws, work gloves, masks, essential clothing's needed. There's drop-off locations through the city, including O'Fallon YMCA, Urban League, the Kings Highway location, and 4144 Martin Luther King Drive.
Yeah, in addition to some of those supplies that you've mentioned, they're looking for non-perishable foods, sanitary products. There's just, you can imagine if your home is gone, all that is needed to replace it. And there's a lot of people displaced right now. So any support that you can provide, this wonderful city would greatly be appreciative. Moving kind of on in through our news, something else that has stressed our economy, our world, our industry out, of course, the whole Liberation Day. We're really starting to see the long tail effects of that as large retailers are getting ready to report their rounds of earnings. What are some things that we can anticipate?
Prices going up. I think everyone should absorb it. Liberation Day seems more a liberation of our pocketbooks and our money than anything else right now. But, the biggest challenge is the volatility, is the instability. It seems like that is the name of the game for the current administration. The instability and volatility are creating challenges with financial outlooks for companies. In addition to price hikes, we've got issues with supply chain issues. Some people are, stocking up in preparation, and they've been doing that when this first started. And some people are holding off on bringing goods in because of the raised expenses. So it continues to be a challenge. We did see a respite a little bit with the Chinese reductions. The question is, the big caveat with all of this kind of 10% increase across all nations, for stuff we're bringing into the U.S. and 30% out of China, is that it's caveated with this 90-day
right,
kind
which we're
of
halfway
thing.
through now, right?
Yeah, on portions of it, and supply chain takes longer to manufacture sometimes than that, and so the question is you're going to commit to inventories, you're going to commit to product when you really don't know where the tariffs are going to go, and where are you going to produce those? So it's definitely continuing to be a challenge.
There's definitely some stress on these retailers, and I think some of them are going to be even more challenged right now with what I'm reading based on companies like Target and the DEI rollback. So now not only are we raising prices, but there's also some social challenges with layered on top.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of a fun story, which I think we could use this little transitional break to right now. We are always so fascinated in the innovations that are happening in our industry. And there is a wonderful story of a Canadian based university, the Laurentian University, that has developed an advanced AI model that pairs with robotic knitting. Now, we've seen some areas of other improvements in this very space, but this is pretty special.
Yeah, every time these areas embrace new technology, or people are embracing new ways to find better ways to do this robotic knitting in 3D. It's a positive for us. That's the big secret within whole garment knitting or 3D knitting or whatever that's going on, is that programming time of getting the actual styles up to speed can be really long.
Months.
Yeah,
Months and
once
months.
months and months. And so once you've got it all programmed and built, then once the machine turns on, you can just knit efficiently, and one operator can manage uh, up to 15 machines or something like that. And that's a real good positive. The researchers at Lawrence University have created, using AI, so it's a fun conversation unless you think robots are going to take over the world. So that's the only caveat there. But with AI, they can actually scan unique sweater stitches, and from those scans, AI can duplicate the actual knitting methods you needed to create or recreate some of these original stitches, which greatly speeds up this kind of very cumbersome process.
This is actually, they're using photos. They're scanning
Yes.
a photo, and then the technology knows how to create this garment, which is just phenomenal.
And they've done multiple trials and had about a 97% efficiency rate.
5,000 samples, in fact.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is amazing. Another area of interest that's happening in our space is we're seeing a rise of modest fashion. Globally, it's growing significantly. We've got, the current market sitting around 96.8 billion this year, but by 2033, it's anticipated to be a $146 billion space. We're seeing a lot of growth in this area. And I think it's wonderful that there's focus in this particular specialty of bringing fashion and helping women feel good.
Yeah, it really is a conversation about empowerment. There is certainly um, parts of it are identity, whether it's a religious identity, others, but overall, this whole modest trend is really big. Even here at Stars, we're seeing lots of new brands that are coming in that are embracing modest fashion. You don't have to look dowdy, if you will. You don't have to look, less overall, feeling good about yourself, and still embrace modest wear. And so, the understanding of the various cultural needs, the understanding of the various focuses of the brands have been a really interesting journey for us. And there's some exciting things to come out. And certainly demand all over the world for this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I find that to be wonderful that there's a lot more focus on it, a lot more conversations in our industry.
I think the challenge is that the market still remains pretty fragmented.
For sure.
And so there's lots of opportunity for consolidation. There's lots of, and of the groups that we're talking about, they're relatively new. They're really kind of getting into the space and exploring their customer base. And so there's a lot of opportunity for growth here.
Yeah. Another fashion story this week. Balenciaga has appointed a new creative director.
Yes, Pierpaolo Piccioli. I'll get that right. Maybe. It comes effective July 10th. He's replacing Demna, who's moving to Gucci. He's known for his poetic sculpture couture at Valentino.
Totally different aesthetic than what Balenciaga, kind of this little
really
more edgier, almost goth rocky kind of vibe. And
a little bit of street going on at Balenciaga. I remember we were in Paris and I was trying on a jacket for the first time. I felt like, oh my God, I can wear this fashion, because that jacket was really, really oversized and cool looking. So it's going to be an interesting evolution for sure.
I'm curious, what do you think has led to this brand's complete shakeup in design direction?
I think what you're finding is shifts happening within this entire industry overall. They're struggling with making sure that they maintain a customer base. There's shifts in the market. They're looking at new customers, the new generation of customers. And so I think that's happening through our entire base. We're seeing brands that never before really struggled start to struggle even more.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to continue to see this.
It's so fascinating to me because I'm seeing, it's kind of like a reshuffling of these heads. Like, this person's going to this luxury brand, this person's going to that luxury brand. So I'm just curious about how that really changes the landscape.
Yeah. And the blurring of the lines, because, each Each creative director kind of has their own DNA and their own
Mm-hmm.
thought process. And, you know, for those with a lot of experience in this industry, the number one thing that an experienced person will develop is, while they have their own DNA, they have their own point of view, they do spend the time to understand their customer,
Yeah.
and so, when they look at brand DNA, they look at that customer base, they understand what that customer's looking for, the successes within the brand, maybe where the missteps were. We always talk about good and bad and ugly wall.
Yeah.
Having these things up there, a really experienced director will be able to see that and then impart his own unique, slant or
Inspiration.
inspiration. And so I
Yeah.
think that's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, as we've
Yes.
talked about the last
Well,
few weeks.
we'll look forward to seeing what rolls out in the next season of Fashion Weeks for sure.
Yeah.
So just a few other notes to share with you. Last week we attended the Alt Ball. Mondo Guerra was in town as a featured designer. It was really wonderful to get a chance to meet him. He actually was on our longer format podcast.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. Fantastic conversation.
Yes.
And wow, what an event that was. We captured a ton of content. So make sure to stay tuned because we're going to be rolling out highlights. It was a truly inspired event.
Yeah, listen, for the second year out, it went from 200 people to 600 people. It would have been much bigger than that, but they sold out of all
Mm-hmm.
the tickets in the space in the first few weeks, I think. Um, I would tell you it was one of the more exciting events I've seen here in St. Louis. It was well orchestrated, well curated. It had wonderful energy. It was for a wonderful cause,
Doorways.
doorways.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be really exciting to see what the heck they're going to do next year, because they're now meeting, kind of doing the post review of the event, looking at what they think went the best. I would say there were very little things within that event that I would really have a critique for. And then how do you build that platform to be bigger? There was definitely strong reception and a lot of positive comments.
Yes, and really inspired runway. So
Wow, for sure.
wow.
I think they did runway right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for joining us this week. Don't forget to meet us back here at noon next week to get caught up on the latest happenings. Hopefully, we'll have more good news to share. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to stay apprised of upcoming episodes.